Is pricing a dynamic thing that happens kind of on its own through formulaic approach, or do you have to go often to make manual adjustments?
Both. Yeah. So I have a revenue manager and like a reservationist. Our monthly rentals, we use static pricing. It just makes more sense for us to say January is this much, February is this much, March is this much. Typically, the market down here is pretty much calendar months as well for how people rent on those monthly rentals. The nightly rentals, it's formulaic in that we set our base price, minimum, maximum. We have our seasonality factors based on the holidays down here and all of that stuff. But it is also then watching it and saying, hey, this hasn't booked yet. Let me go at a new fixed lower nightly rate, or let me check the minimum stay here. Let me do that. So it's the dynamic rates is great, but it's certainly not set it and forget it.
Hi, welcome to the Current by Ocean's Code Experts. I'm your host, Kaylor. This is a show built for people who actually run operations in hospitality and the leaders that make everything possible behind the scenes. Today, I'm joined by Sam Klitenick. He's the CEO at Vacation Homes of Key West. Welcome to the show, Sam.
Thanks, Kaylor. Yeah, really happy to be here.
Likewise, Sam. Sam, before we dive in, can you please tell us about your background? Is hospitality a deliberate path for you, career-wise, or did it pull you in organically?
I think it really pulled me in organically. I grew up in a hospitality oriented family. My mom had a catering company growing up. I always worked in restaurants growing up. The company that I run now was founded by my grandma just around the time I was born. And so I grew up in Key West, Florida, went off to school in Boston, studied finance, didn't want to go the super corporate finance route. So I joined the Peace Corps, spent some time in Africa. So that was about 2 years. Came back, worked in commercial real estate and in the finance world for a little bit. And then Key West and the hospitality opportunity just pulled me back here. So for the last 2.5 years, I've been running our company down here.
Great. Now, tell us more about the operation so that we can fully grasp what we're going to be discussing here. What does Vacation Homes at Key West look like? How big is the operation, scale, team size, properties? Tell us
Yeah.
everything there is to know.
Yeah, definitely. So we're a boutique operator. We really pride ourselves on being authentic Key West. So we manage a little over 50 houses, pretty much all focused on Old Town Key West. Key West has a really rich historical area. Most of our homes are historic properties that are, can be around 100 years old. There's very strict licensing here. So we do a combination of nightly rentals and monthly rentals. So we're about half and half. And we're a pretty small, dedicated team for our portfolio. I think we've got about 6 full-time employees. And then, we work with some subcontractors for housekeeping and maintenance and things like that. But we really just try to provide a personalized, authentic Key West experience, both for our guests and for our property owners. So we really get to know, my team was just having dinner with some of our guests last week and they don't even tell me about that. That's just stuff that they do for fun. We're definitely very, very close with everyone.
Excellent. That sounds wonderful. So, Sam, what does a typical week look like for you personally? I'd love to understand how you actually spend most of your time when you're at work.
Yeah, it's been changing. So when I got here, the majority of my time I was really in the weeds of all of it. So responding to all those maintenance calls, checking in on all the reservations, making reservations myself. I was cleaning houses, cleaned yards. So been just really wanted to get to know all aspects of our business. Now I've brought on a lot of new team members and gotten everybody trained up. So they really are handling most of those actual operational things themselves, which is really exciting. So my days are pretty much spent thinking bigger picture for the company. So how can we grow? How can I better lead my team? Planning my team meetings, checking in on the operations, making sure we're meeting the metrics that I'd like to see and that reservations are going well and that we are responding to everything in a timely way. And then, we're also, while this is our core business here, we're also real estate investors. So lately we've had another investment renovation project going on in Central Florida, about an hour north of Orlando. So that has definitely occupied a lot of time as well, between working with the contractors, doing the acquisition itself, getting marketing in place. So really everything to kind of launch a new startup up there.
About everything that's going on right now. By the way, I'm going to come back on the metrics piece that you mentioned, but a little bit later down the road. Right now, what is the part of your operation that you're most satisfied with? Something that you have built, that your team has figured out, something that's really brought change to the way that you think about the operation.
You know, I don't know that I could say that it's part of the operation as in that it's like a perfectly replicable standard operating procedure, but what I'm most proud of and what I think that 99% of our reviews reflect is everybody appreciates our standard of service and our customer service. So our guests are so quick to respond with how responsive we were, how friendly we were. They liked hanging out with us. So we do a really great job of welcoming these people to our island home and making them feel like they belong here, that they're friends with us, and that they can experience the island the way that we would. And getting them to come back and stay with us again.
What about the flip side of that? What's the hardest part of your operation today that, many people might not
Yeah, I
appreciate?
mean, the hardest part, it's nothing special. It's the same as when you go to any of these vacation rental conferences or anything that everybody talks about. It's laundry, it's amenities, and so really, it can be difficult in Key West with a limited workforce. So it's a tough and expensive place to live down here, and there's a lot of people that kind of have their own businesses, or kind of the workforce can be limited here. So it's hard to find the right people. So we do operate with a small staff a lot. So I think that, yeah, just getting all the basics done and making sure that everything is guest ready while we get it done. Certain days, first of the month during peak season can always be difficult, where we definitely have room to improve with I think our laundry operations and the amenities that we provide in the homes, stuff like soaps and all of that. While we do it, I just always think there's room to get better. So
I think just you just kicked off a very unique angle to this specific setting that you're describing, which is Key West. And that's because, for context, from what I've been able to read, 70 to 80% is about the turnover ratio annually for hospitality as a whole. And I imagine that becomes even more of a pressing topic for a contained ecosystem like the one that you dwell in, right? You've already described that staffing is a challenge. So I want to ask you, is the best approach in a situation or a spot like yours going the efficiency route to try and operate at leanly? It kind of sounds like that's what you're doing. Try to operate lean with fewer hands and do as much as you can and operationalize everything else? Or is it more of a constant being on top of making sure that you have a consistent in stream of available hands and staff? And so what is the balance there?
yeah, I think it's a combination of both. I mean, I like to run lead. Um, I think, I'm definitely looking to grow, and we'll probably be bringing on some more people now, but I never want to have to be in a situation where I've got to lay anybody off. Have fewer people, and then when we really need somebody, we'll add. But I think that employee retention is critical here, especially. So that's what I focus on a lot with my time, is really making sure to have an individualized leadership approach to all of my employees, really make them feel welcome and coached and respected the way they need to. And that's different for everybody. Yeah, I think that keeping your team is critical.
Let's unpack a little bit more the efficiency part of it. And I told you I would come back to the metrics, and I'm very interested. Actually, let me start with this question. Let's start small, and then we can kind of expand upon that.
Yeah.
What are the three? I imagine it's going to be hard to keep it down to three, but give me three key metrics that you're constantly kind of on top of. That the ones that stress
Yeah.
you out or make you excited, whatever those are.
The main thing that I watch is the reservation flow. So I will look at, our ADR is really important, obviously. I look at our pacing, where are our future bookings at today versus this time last year for the year. I mean, occupancy can be a little, I mean, I'm trying to think. That's really the ones that I focus on are pretty much just our rates and the bookings we're generating and our pacing.
Mhm.
So, there's all these different tools and everything. I've kind of just built I'm an Excel guy, so I've kind of built my own little Excel sheet that I like to use that shows me how are we doing compared to last year? Where do I stand with all my individual properties? And I watch that and that works for me. I mean, from a marketing perspective, we look at the typical results on your Google ads, your click through rate, your conversion rate, how much are you getting back for the dollars you put in to your ads? So yeah.
Let me throw a bit of a curveball at you. I was having a discussion with another guest one of these days who and we were getting into this discussion of when we hear like Excel spreadsheet, like what you just brought up.
Yeah.
Some people, like you have this group of people that swear by their Excel spreadsheets. Like that spreadsheet is there. I mean, I don't know how many years old or even if it's a new one, but half their life is on it. And there's this other group that hears Excel spreadsheet and immediately thinks outdated, not cloud, not integrated. What is your take on that? Like, is this a deliberate decision? Was the Excel kind of the best thing at the moment? Is it something you've thought about moving?
Yeah,
What's the,
I think it's just how I use it. I think it was just kind of the training that I had as well, so working in finance, especially in real estate finance for like in the commercial world, I was on a team that managed high-rise office in downtown Los Angeles and around the country. I built a lot of really complex Excel spreadsheets for them. But then you look at the senior guys and even on the biggest deals in the country, done that year, they still pare everything down to what you can do on a napkin. So I think that like the tools are out there, but sometimes it's just a visualization thing for me. So like Excel is something that I'm comfortable with. So I'll use my PMS system and create a view that I like that I can then I have a Excel model. So all I'm doing is downloading the view, dropping it in, and it's pulling the data points that I want. So it's just more customizable for me.
Mhm,
I can just pare it down to exactly what I want. And every business is a little different. So like some of the off the shelf tools can be tough for me to use because not all our properties can be rented for the same periods of time or, um, because of the licensing. And then even with that, there's HOA regulations so that some of them can only be rented half the year, or there's all kinds of little nuance that I feel like these off the shelf tools aren't going to give you. So it just gives me a little more flexibility and something that I'm comfortable with. So I
mhm,
just like it. I mean, I think it's one of those things that I just had fun with sometimes too, a little nerdy about it, but it's just one of those reports. I definitely use other reports as well, but I've just found that I can make myself a dashboard with my preferences easier. That's the
mhm.
tool that I work on. So yeah.
Totally. And since you've already mentioned PMS, what tools are typically part of that stack that you operate with on a day-to-day basis? Like you're jumping from here to the Excel to the PMS. What else goes into it?
Yeah, so we've got a property management system, which is our channel manager as well. I think our company is unique in that we really only operate on two channels. So we do the majority of our bookings direct, and then we're also on Vervo. Those are our only two marketing channels right now, and that's by choice as well. And our reservations seem to be doing well, so it allows us to have a little more control. So yeah, so we have our PMS channel manager. We've got a dynamic pricing tool. We've got like a maintenance and housekeeping software as well that are all tied together. And then we actually do a lot of custom things because so when the company was founded, it was prior to any off the shelf PMS existing. And so we had developed our own proprietary PMS originally, which we switched off of, I guess, almost 2 years ago now. But we still are connected to all of our softwares via API. And so we have a lot of custom things that we've built that are really just for us. So
What kind of things have you built in-house?
we've made our integration with QuickBooks work a lot better than anything else that's out there. So we actually have a system that when a new reservation is generated, it will create a QuickBooks invoice. It'll push all the payments over in real time. And then our owner pay system will also ties into QuickBooks, pulls everything into our own system, applies whatever markups need to be applied automatically, has a dashboard to customize things to go into the reports per property. So yeah, so we have kind of a custom owner statement generator, custom QuickBooks connections. We have our own owner portal. We have our own guest portal. And then we have some different reporting tools and webhook things that we do just to allow ourselves a little more flexibility than what's typically offered in an off-the-shelf system, I guess. Yeah.
That makes perfect sense, and honestly, that tracks. I mean, from what I've heard in the industry of hospitality, for some reason, it's very unique to every manager, to every operator, to every property, and it's very hard to try and find a solution that actually fits
Yeah.
your exact needs. In your specific case, what was the case? What's the thing that you felt you couldn't quite accomplish with out of the box solutions?
The QuickBooks connection for us was a big one. So we tried the one that's offered through our PMS, and it was still had all this manual legwork that needed to be done behind the scenes. So that was a big thing for us. Also, the way we do our owner statements, like the softwares can pull the income very easily, but you have to get your expenses. You're not like all of our expenses don't naturally go into our property management software too, but we want those expenses on all of our owner statements so we can deduct what's necessary. So that's kind of the biggest thing for us. Additionally, the guest portal, part of it is cosmetic. Like I don't like how the off the shelf ones look necessarily. And so we want everything to fit our branding. Then, yeah, part of it is how we process payments. So we can avoid a lot of fees by we process ACH bank transfer payments ourselves. So having our own guest portal that can collect that banking information so that we can do it allows us to skip out on those bank fees that um, different payment processors will charge. And then same thing, being more flexible with our upsells and other things that, a lot of these property management systems now, even on direct bookings, if the guest is paying through their system, it's going to add between 1% and 2% onto the reservation as well. So we really like direct bookings should be the cheapest and best option for the guest. So, and it really should be that you're interacting directly with us, how we want to interact with you and make it simple.
That's actually very interesting, and it ties back to what you said about VRBO and direct bookings being the primary channels, basically the only channels you use,
Yeah.
and that being a deliberate choice. And I'll
Yeah.
definitely, I mean, I'm way intrigued to talk about how you keep occupancy high with fewer channels, but
Yeah.
I don't want to lose the thread that you were talking about there, which is that revenue or that bottom line that you capture back by doing these in-house implementations, tailoring it to your specific way of doing it, the commissions that you save. Are you able to give or take, give me a ballpark of how much revenue gets recovered through these type of things?
Yeah. Well, it was a tough thing, like credit card merchant processing fees. You know, we give the guest an option to pay a different method or pay with the credit card, and that puts the fee on them. I haven't found a good way through any software to uh, have that be optional, I guess, other than us, like how we did it ourselves. So the owners used to be paying for that, right? Or many of our owners were paying for that on their statements, and so they will put that money back into the owners' pockets. That's 3% of transactions. I don't really want to give you our exact figures, but it's definitely significant. So capturing that, and then the ACH, having that ACH option available to do ourselves. We still work with the local bank. We like to be with the community, so it allows us to keep our banking relationships in place with the bank that's been here and for us for a long time. So it just kind of has to be a little custom.
Yeah, I mean, even if we don't go into the exact figures, 3% can really move the needle on a year-to-year basis. I mean, for all that extra spend, and also to for the low seasons so that you can get through them like that can actually move the needles.
Definitely.
I get doing that. Have you found that to be able to do that and kind of create things your own way and adapt to the way that you operate, you have to make a bigger upfront investment and then it pays over time? Or what is the let me rephrase
Yeah,
that,
I
what is
mean,
the
I've been lucky in that I inherited basically a full-time computer programmer when I took on
Okay.
when I came to do. We had somebody on staff with that background that had been working with our company for a really long time. And so, yeah, I mean, he enjoys it. So we can, I'm, I'm not really investing in new technology. It's more, it's just I mean, I am, but it's not like I'm saying, okay, now I'm going to spend this. It's lumped in with my payroll, essentially.
Well, I mean, it's a capability and a luxury, I would say, that many operators don't have in this space. It's not, I mean, not every hospitality operator has in-house development capabilities. And
But yeah, no,
so you're
it's,
making a point that there's massive value there, honestly.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So just very quickly, if you didn't have them, like let's say you didn't know about all of this, you didn't have them 3 years ago, would you still make a decision to hire a person for that specific purpose today?
I think so. I think especially now in this kind of AI age that we are headed into, we like over the next year, especially, are really going to dive deep into that. So I think it's essential for businesses to stay relevant at this time. Like we're not looking to AI as a means to replace staff members. You know, we get a lot of, I get 50 emails a day about things that can do AI message responses, all that stuff for you. But I really like our team to respond to the messages personally, and they enjoy it too because then they have an idea actually of the guest sentiment. They get to know the guests they're talking to them. So there's things with AI like we're really excited about the agentic. I don't know if that's I think that's the word. Agentic qualities of that. So we're leaning into what can we do with these AI agents now, and so we're kind of exploring that. We've got a Mac Mini that we're putting one on, and we're going to see how can we create a system. I would love to get to a space where all of our team has their own AI assistant, essentially, to augment their work rather than replace any team members.
That's actually a very smart move. I think very responsible too from a human side. Try
Mhm.
to not replace but elevate the people that are already there with these capabilities is a very mature and honestly very very generous move. What does that project look like? Just again, very quickly. Don't want
Yeah,
to go too deep into
we're
that.
still like very early stages, so we don't know really what we can do right now. So we're kind of where we're at right now is we've got like a dedicated computer to put the AI agent on, and we're connecting him into our PMS and some other softwares. And maybe like at first it'll just give us a kind of the things that I go in and click through, the little reports that like what we were talking about earlier.
Mhm.
Instead of that, dial it in that I or other members of the team just get a customized report in the morning. So you come in and you're fresh. What happened overnight or what happened last week? What new reservations came in? What didn't get responded to timely enough? All that kind of stuff. You know, and then from there, it's the sky's the limit. I find with these projects, I don't think it's best that like here's our plan and we're going to try to like exactly do this that. I think it's very exploratory for us, which keeps it really exciting too, because we don't even know where it can go or exactly what we're going to do with it. But it's just kind of practice and it'll evolve as it goes.
That makes sense. I think with AI, there's this every expert that I've talked to in AI specifically has told me the experimentation phase cannot be skipped in
Yeah.
any AI effort. Like experimentation is critical because that's when you get a feel for the capabilities, the potential ROI, the cost of it, even the potential impact. So I think you're on point there. Now back to what we were discussing about the operation. I host people here. I mean, some of them are restaurant owners, some people are from a hotel chains. I think this is a very unique kind of different case because every industry within the industry has a different cadence. Restaurants tend to be the more chaotic, where things can go wrong very quickly. Hotels, yes, also a bit of a mix. In your case, what would you say the pacing is like? And when I say that, I mean how quickly can things go wrong? How often do they go wrong? How on top of things do you have to be? That type of thing.
Well, it's funny because I think that's another question that really is unique for us because of where we are. So operating in Key West, you face a lot of challenges. So first of all, the houses themselves, they're all, like I said, mostly historic houses. So they're wooden, they're 100 years old, and they're constantly subject to salt water and sun exposures. It's just nothing can really survive in that. They weren't built to accommodate air conditioners or all these modern luxuries, that we have now. So there a lot of times they have funky layouts or they aren't insulated the best. So ACs, you can never predict what's going to happen. And of course, like those things tend to break at midnight on Sunday nights or something always. But another kind of challenge with that is like a lot of other vacation rental operators may be able to replace things quickly or whatever. Like, Amazon Prime down here for us takes a week for delivery. We don't have access to a Walmart or a Target or anything like that. So we definitely have to keep a lot of stuff like TVs or different supplies, like things that you might need on hand and in inventory because we aren't going to be able to get a replacement really quickly. But there's definitely a lot of unforeseen things that can happen down here. I mean, storms come out of nowhere, so we have all kinds of weather things. You can have tree limbs falling or blowing over. We get random floods. There's wildlife. Last 2 years, 2 or 3 calls for iguanas getting into the house or in like in an outdoor shower or something like that. We need somebody to come over and catch it. So the island, the island itself is definitely always there's always something fun happening.
When something unexpected happens, how quickly do you know about it? Who tells you? How do you realize? How is the response?
We're quick about it. I mean, me personally, now they'll tell me if they really don't need help. Like I try to encourage my team to problem solve. Like, of course, I always want to be there for support, but I ask that when they come to me with a problem, they have thought through what a potential solution could be. I'm always open to talking about it, but I do like try to build people up. I don't want them just to come, hey, here's a problem. What do we do? It's like, here's a problem. Here's what I think. What do you think? And that's gone really well. So they handle a lot of stuff on their own. I'm still in. We use WhatsApp. I check our messages from time to time. I look at the groups and things like that. So I have an idea of what's going on. But generally, unless it's something that's a really big deal or, um, it's a big rental and AC went down and it's not going to be able to get here for another week and they need kind of me to step in and make a final decision on something. I don't hear too much about it, right, unless I ask or to look myself. Yeah.
Just to clarify, the part that you're currently dealing with, I mean, just the service that you provide in general has to do obviously with MRO, like maintenance and everything related to the properties themselves. Obviously, booking is the biggest one, making sure that you have a solid, healthy influx of guests, all of that. But is there anything else that goes into the scope of property management like this that I'm not thinking of that people typically wouldn't associate with it that is very important to you?
Yeah, I think that one thing that people forget about too is the houses have to look nice and be comfortable. So beyond the maintenance of them and keeping them full, it's important to refresh the homes every couple of years. You need to replace furniture items. You need to make sure that there's enough plates in the kitchens. You need to make sure that all the light bulbs match and are the same temperature, so it doesn't seep through in the house. So we have someone on the team whose full-time job, we call them the property enhancement specialists. And so they're constantly in the units checking to make sure, hey, does this make sense? Hey, does this look as good as it could? Hey, is it time to wash these curtains? Is it time to get new curtains? Is it time to get a new couch? They're always looking at guest reviews or so yeah. And that's a balance as well because owners have a lot of different personalities. Some owners, this is their home that they like to use for a portion of the year. And so they're very attached to how things look and all of that and exactly what's in there. And in other owners, they never come down here and it's just an investment property for them. And so we have a lot of control. So it's still, you have to take a very tailored approach and it can be tough for property management companies being in between guests and owners when to guests also, the guest really just sees us and like everything about the house is us when, sometimes we can be caught in the middle. So that's yeah.
Totally. There's so much there that also that we could unpack, but I'm very curious about a couple of things in particular, and they have to do with reservations because they're so paramount to your operation, right? Like you said that occupancy is really high and healthy in your case. So what I mean, I know it's gonna be hard to assign numbers to this because there are seasons and whatnot, but if you had to explain to me, like I'm 5 years old, what good occupancy looks like for you? I mean, what are those good numbers?
Yeah, so it's very different for our monthly rentals and our nightly rentals. So the monthly rentals, like if I'm bringing on a new property owner, I'll tell them that like 4 months a year rented is good, and so that's peak season, which for us is the winter time, pretty much January through March, maybe a month on either end. Those are pretty much guaranteed for our company to rent out. Now we get a lot of summer rentals and shoulder season rentals also. I just never like to promise those to a new potential property owner. I always prefer to err on under promise, over deliver kind of thing, So 4 months plus on a monthly rental is good, I think. And the rates make up for that. So our seasonal rates or I guess a better way to say it would be our off-season rates are 50 to 60% of our seasonal rates. So our nightly rentals, probably around 80% occupancy, I would target as like a good number. And the rates fluctuate with that as well. So same kind of thing, off-season rates, probably about the same ratio,
Remind me again how many properties roughly you're dealing with right now?
about 50.
About 50. Wow. Okay. So here's where it gets interesting because 50 properties is a lot and unique things go on each one. So what's giving you the information every day, every week, whatever the cadence is? What's giving you the information on how they are performing so that you can make decisions, right? That and things don't actually fall through the cracks.
Yeah. So I'm really looking at our reservation information daily. You know, I'm looking at kind of those couple things we talked about. So overall gross rentals for the year, average daily rate, and our pacing. So yeah, how does what we have on the books for this year compare to the same for last year at this time? So we have a really long booking window, which definitely helps for things. I mean, our guests on average book 7 to 8 months in advance. So so yeah, it can be, which is nice because it can be great for us to, I guess you can really watch the performance easier. So that's what on a monthly basis I'm getting on with our web and SEO marketing people, and I'm feeding them the properties that I think, okay, we need to give a little bit more attention to these. So we do different ads. Maybe I'll do specific ads for properties that I think could be a little better if we're noticing. Yeah, so it's just paying attention to it, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you literally about that. The occupancy, for example, across 50 properties, if you have a way to see the dips in a way that you can act upon it relatively quickly, and then what you do with that. It sounds like SEO is an action that you take. Is there anything else that you typically do when you see that there's underperformance somewhere?
Yeah. So we'll discount last minute, 10 to 15% to get some last minute bookings. What was a game changer for us as well was we implemented dynamic minimum stays. So when we are within 30 to 60 days of a check-in, our minimum stay may drop from 3, 4, 5 nights to 2 nights. And it does that as well for gaps of 3 nights or less between bookings. So that really helped us fill in a lot of gaps or otherwise unbooked date. Yeah, I mean, that's the main thing. You have like if I'm noticing that occupancy should be better on a property, I will always push whatever marketing channels I have and take a look at the pricing and see
Mhm.
maybe we need to adjust pricing.
Is pricing a dynamic thing that happens kind of on its own through formulaic approach, or do you have to go often to make manual adjustments?
Both. Yeah. So I have a revenue manager and like a reservationist. Our monthly rentals we use static pricing. It just makes more sense for us to say January is this much, February is this much, March is this much. Typically, the market down here is pretty much calendar months as well for how people rent on those monthly rentals. The nightly rentals, there it's formulaic in that we set our base price, minimum, maximum. We have our seasonality factors based on the holidays down here and all of that stuff. But it is also then watching it and saying, hey, this hasn't booked yet. Let me go at a new like fixed lower nightly rate, or let me check the minimum stay here. Let me do that. So it's the dynamic rates is great, but it's certainly not set it and forget it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Great. So now let's talk a little bit more about the modernization and the forward looking perspective for you specifically and how you're approaching your business as you move ahead. First things first. So, what is something, anything about the way that your business is operating now that maybe you have on your bucket list? Maybe you know it's sitting there, but you like to do more about. Maybe a problem that you know can be solved, and not from the field work type of perspective, but from the operations about what we've discussed. You know, dynamic rates, occupancy, profitability, all of those things. Is there anything you can think of that you love to be able to solve now that you just kind of be pushing aside for the moment?
Yeah, I think it really is finding those best uses for the AI agents that we were kind of touching on earlier. So that's what I'm most excited about right now in terms of technological advancements. I think
Mhm.
that that will free up a lot of time for us as well. So maybe it is we build an AI agent that will reach out and see if anybody wants to extend one night, wants a gap night, or it's checking like all the stuff that we need to check of are people making their payments on time? Are people signing their contracts? How long has it been since this reservation created? The contract hasn't been signed. Do we need to cancel this reservation? So there's a lot of administrative tasks I think we can that we're doing that I think we can I don't know automate is the right word. I don't know that I necessarily want them done by something, but at least we don't have to research because there's always nuance. Like we have a lot of repeat guests that we know they never sign until this or that or the other. So it's like the formulaic approach doesn't always work, but at least providing us the information so that we can make the decisions quicker and we're not looking at what is happening all the time.
Yeah, totally. And you already have a few very good ideas there from what I can tell. A
Yeah.
very good hypothesis of what can be pursued. I
Mhm.
would love to talk more about those some other time. But where do you see the biggest opportunity for an independent operator to become a little bit more modern and competitive? Which ways have you found that are kind of that low hanging fruit you would recommend other people start looking into?
Yeah, I mean, reservations drives everything, you know? That's I think that without your if you aren't keeping the houses occupied, then you aren't you don't have anything. And then we've had and it's important to keep them occupied at the right rates too. So some people will rely too heavily on a dynamic system or something. And we've had a lot of or a few owners move over to us before from other companies because, maybe it's a monthly rental and they book the house for um, $5,000 in peak season, and the owner's like, I would never take a $5,000 rental or something. You can look at some of these. I mean, houses down here in Key West in season can rent for, uh, 30, 40, 50,000 a month. So it's like you really need to be on top of it. So I think really learning how to keep your internet marketing relevant, how to retain your guests, and how to make sure that you're generating income or the highest possible income is key because that's what the property owners need you to do for them.
100%. I've heard people say that occupancy in anything that's related to something like this is like oxygen for the
Yeah.
industry.
Yeah,
A high occupancy allows you to breathe better, hear better, more staff, give them more time, like all of these things that go with that.
mhm.
Sounds like you're kind of aligned with that sentiment. What is a decision that you have made in the past year or the past couple of years that really moved the needle, that changed the game for you as in how you're operating?
I mean, yeah, we've changed everything, honestly, since I've been there with all our internal systems. Like, I think our internal software shifts that we've made in the last 2 years have been critical. I mean, it was the day after we had backed up our data onto an off-the-shelf PMS system that we had a complete software crash on our old system and lost like our entire calendar. So if we hadn't backed up that data, it could have been a real mess. So yeah, just being I think moving to the like rather than being completely reliant on our own software tools to a combination of using what's out there and then creating some customizations with that has has been the biggest game changer for us because before we were constantly in maintenance mode of making sure that everything worked and wasn't going to break, and now it's how can we make this better for us, how can we make this like easier, how can we make this faster. So that was a big thing. I mean, yeah. And then in terms of like regular operational shifts, like things that have moved the needle, I mean, the dynamic minimum stays, like I'm talking about, that just really skyrocketed reservations for sure. You know, turning on instant book on VRBO, like our bookings shot up with that as well. So it's really important to stay active with your listings, you know, update your photos, update your descriptions, like pay attention to all that stuff. It really makes a difference. I mean,
Totally. That yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Last question there when we're talking about kind of what you're looking forward to, right? So, what's the best advice that somebody has given you in the industry that you've actually been able to leverage that has made a difference in how you think about it and how you action it?
what is the best advice? Yeah, I mean, I think something that I heard before someone told me is just how important communication is, and so I always try to push that with with my team as well. And so that doesn't end with your guest communication. It's also vital for your owners. I mean, when you talk about this industry, or you're not in this industry, it's easy to think, okay, vacation rental operator, their customer is their guests, but really you've got two sets of customers. You know, you have your guests and you also have your owners. And so just being on top of the regular communication with everybody really makes things easier, smoother, flow better, get more done. Everybody knows what's expected, what's happening. So I think that's really important.
Totally. Sam, before I let you go, I usually like to close with a very quick lightning round. So I'll be throwing a couple of questions at you. I want you to respond kind of with the first thing that comes to mind. No overthinking, just whatever is natural to you. So let me start with this one. In your mind, what is the most overrated thing in hospitality technology?
I think it, AI responses, I guess. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Definitely dig that one a little deeper, but let's move on to the next one. What is the system that you couldn't run without other than your Excel spreadsheet?
RPMS.
Mm, of course. What is the best experience you've had as a guest in hospitality? What made it stand out?
As a guest, I think it's just been any kind of boutique, like a boutique hotel experience that I've been to. And always what makes it stand out is its lack of uniformity. You know, it's honoring of, like, maybe it's an old building and they didn't try to standardize it too much. Like it's very unique for what it is, and it's the irreplicable experience.
Mhm. Okay. What makes vacation homes of Key West stand out from your average property management operator?
Authenticity, for sure. Yeah. So kind of what I was talking about before, like we standardize what we can, but we also don't want everything standard. The beauty of Key West is that it's such a fun, diverse, different place to be. So we don't want all our houses to look the same. We don't want everything to be exactly the same. It's supposed to be charming, different, unique, every experience.
And if you were not in the hospitality industry today, what would you be doing?
Um, in the hospitality industry at all, I don't know. I can't imagine not being.
Great. So, Sam, we're coming to the end of the show. Thank you so much for all of the responses and the candor and bringing this very unique perspective on how things work, not just from the geographical standpoint of the unique place that Key West sits in, but also the unique way in which you found success doing the things the way that you are doing them. Really, really like the conversation. Sam, where can our people follow what you're doing or vacation homes at Key West or anything related to your work?
Yeah, best place is our website. You know, you can see what we do is vacationhomesofqs.com or bhkw.com. Same thing. We're on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn, although not really a social media guy, so I don't really post anything. But yeah, my name's Sam Klitenick, Klitenick. So yeah.
Thank you, Sam. And thank you for listening to Deep Current. If you are an operator of property management companies, looking at all of the challenges that Sam has already overcome and the ones that he's looking at in the industry, if you want to keep that conversation going, feel free to reach out. Find us at oceansco.com. Until next time.